Well, I dressed for Thanksgiving. Yes. And speaking of Thanksgiving, there was a man in Chicago. He called his son in New York the day before Thanksgiving, and he said to his son, I hate to ruin your day, but I have to tell you that your mother and I are divorcing. 45 years of misery is enough. Pop, what are you talking about? The son said. We can't stand the sight of each other any longer, the father says. We're sick of each other, and I'm sick of talking about this, so you call your sister and tell her. Frantic, the son calls his sister in Dallas, and he says, Mom and Dad are getting divorced. And she explodes on the phone. She says, like heck, they're getting divorced. She says, I'll take care of this. She said, she calls Chicago immediately, and she screams at her father, you are not getting divorced. Don't do a single thing until I get there. I'm calling my brother back, and we will both be there tomorrow. Until then, don't you do anything. Do you hear me? Nothing. And she hangs up. The father hangs up the phone. He turns to his wife, and he says, okay, they're all coming for Thanksgiving, and they're paying their own way. Oh, yeah, you got to have a little fun once in a while. Let's take a look. I want to start with that first slide this morning. Okay? Oprah, be thankful for what you have, and you'll end up having more. If you concentrate on what you don't have, you will never, ever have enough. Been there, done that. Anybody else? Yep. And isn't it the truth? The more I focus on what I'm lacking, the more lack seems to come to me. Works for my bank account. It works for my relationships. It works for everything that way. So why do I keep going there? Well, I thought about that, and I don't know for you, but I was raised by parents who grew up in the Depression. And so their mindset was always worried about never having enough. And they didn't intentionally pass that on to me, but I sure picked it up. And then add in my schooling, which had a lot of guilt and shame in it, and that just encouraged all of that focusing on what I didn't have or what I wasn't instead of all the things I did have. You know, it was so good with that sing-along this morning. I loved how you invited people to just say, I'm grateful for, and you fill in the blank. Just something as simple. I loved it. Food, shelter. What was the other one? My home? Health. These things that we just so take for granted. You know, Gandhi said, I was sad because I didn't have any shoes. Then I saw a man who had no feet. It's sometimes pretty easy to put it back in perspective, isn't it? Sometimes. But sometimes when we're wallowing, it's not so easy to see that. You know, being grateful for absolutely anything that we have. Robin Roberts, you know who that is? She's one of the hosts is at Good Morning America. Am I saying that correct? Right, and she went through breast cancer, and she publicly went through that whole ordeal. And she has a quote out there that says, if all of us put our problems in one big pile in the middle of the room, we would all scramble to go and grab our problem back. Because we think we have it so bad until you hear everybody else's. And then you're like, oh, I'll take mine back. I don't want that one. We can see everything as fortune and grace. When we can see everything as fortune and grace, we're able to receive more deeply. Did you ever think about that? We're able to receive more deeply. Think about helping somebody who needs help out there. And that is not so hard to do by showing somebody, a stranger, gratitude, is it? By just your smile? You know, I was at a funeral on Friday with, it was one of my best girlfriends from high school. Her brother had passed away, and we all in high school had all grown up with big families. I grew up Catholic, so most of my friends had 6, 9, 11 kids, and we all know each other. So I knew her brother, but I know a lot of people there, right? And I had a couple people come up, and this happens quite often. Why are you always smiling? And I'm like, what do you want me to do? You want me to frown when I see you? Like, oh, hello, right? I went through a personal growth seminar 25 years ago, and I remember it was a 4-day seminar, and Life Success, any of you are familiar with that, and I remember I had to process a whole day on, was my happiness fake or was it real? Was I hiding something? And I came out of there on Sunday morning realizing that I am freaking happy and it's okay to be me. Yes. But I had to question that for 24 hours because they were asking me to go deep. Are you really happy, or is that just you learned that as a child to cover it up? And it was like freedom for me when I came out of that. It was okay. But yet still, 25, 30 years later, I'm still getting questioned, why are you always so happy? Why are you always smiling? I'm like, well, I don't know. Have you not heard about spreading a little joy? I just don't know, you know? People who express gratitude, this is true. Your blood pressure can be lowered. You can have less chronic pain. Get it, see? Yes. You can increase your energy level. Live longer. Produce higher self-esteem. Yes, by expressing gratitude, by expressing a smile when you meet somebody, holding a door for somebody. It doesn't take much. You know, gratitude, I mean, science is proving it. It actually rewires our brain. It kickstarts the production of dopamine and serotonin. These feel-good neurotransmitters activate the bliss sensors of the brain. How about that? Who couldn't use a little more bliss in the brain? I'm like, creating a feeling when we have bliss in the brain, guess what? We have feelings of contentment and happiness. Oh, let's get to the second slide there, please. I love this. When we focus on gratitude, the tide of disappointment goes out and the tide of love rushes in. When we focus on our gratitude, the tide of disappointment rushes out and the tide of love rushes in. I want to tell you, in my second marriage, I took on 3 teenage stepchildren, and the youngest one stayed with us the longest. And I remember this very clearly. At age 15, she was kind of your typical rebellious teenager. We didn't know anything. Everything was unfair. Everything we did, all of our rules, we were picking on her. She was a victim, right? And her dad was a police officer, so he wasn't around very much, so it was always me having to listen to this. Now, keep in mind, I've already got 2 kids of my own, and I am not going to tolerate it, right? So I would say, get in the car, and we're going to Children's Hospital. And we're going to the cancer floor. It took one time. And the next time she started doing that again, I'd say, let's get in the car. Never mind, never mind. And then she'd think of things she was grateful for. Sometimes you just have to give a little push to get somebody to turn their head around. You know, in the song we'd say, do the hokey pokey and turn yourself around, right? What if that hokey pokey really was what it's all about? I mean, hello, right? There's a bumper sticker that says that. Oh, goodness. You know, move from disappointment to gratitude. We all have disappointments. We all have moments of sadness. We all have moments of depressive thoughts. How do we get out of it? In Unity and all New Thought movement churches, they all have the toolkits in order for us to have a different life, to express a different life. And that is, shift your thinking and change your life. Even if it's just shift your thinking for a minute. Your brain activates the serotonin and the dopamine, even if it's for a minute. So don't chastise yourself when that happens. It's okay. Oh, let me breathe for just a second, because I want to make sure. I want to keep this in the order that I wanted to tell you about it. Yeah, let's go to the third slide. I love Alan Cohen. If you are not familiar with his writings, he is just a very simple, just a normal guy. And the way he writes, it's just very normal and uplifting. And let's say, gratitude, like faith, is a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it grows. The more you use it, the stronger it grows. You started activating that muscle of gratitude in the opening song when she said, name something. Name me something else. Somebody. Oh, my dogs? I love that. Oh, I'm so grateful for mine too. Who isn't grateful for their pets? Who's grateful for their pets? There, look at all these animal lovers out there. Yes. Give me one more. What was it? Kittens? Kisses. Oh, I now know who Ray is. Who doesn't like kisses? Who likes kisses? There we go. Come on. Why isn't everybody's hand up? What's wrong with you people back there? Who doesn't like kisses from a grandchild or a niece or a nephew? Anybody? Oh my gosh, from your dog or your cat. Yes. Oh gosh. So what you just did was you worked that muscle of gratitude. And you just connected and created a little more dopamine and serotonin in your brain, which is going to move you to some bliss and some happiness, even just for this moment. So how do you cultivate an attitude of gratitude? Number one, celebrate minor accomplishments. Minor accomplishments. I got up today, and instead of eating my homemade zucchini bread, I ate wheat cereal. Wheat grain, right? That was a healthier choice. So I celebrate myself. I'm grateful. Celebrate the little things. The little things. Again, think about what you have instead of what you don't have. Number two would be, tell the people in your life what you appreciate about them. Often. Often. Who doesn't want to hear words of appreciation? That's like one of my love languages. One of my top love languages is words of affirmation. Affirmation, appreciation, and if you've been around me at all, you notice that's the love language I love to give. I love to say thank you to people because I don't think we can hear that enough. I just don't. But also show appreciation to yourself. Oh, yes. Who does that in here often? We don't appreciate ourselves near enough. It's much easier to appreciate you and you and you. Tyler over there. I appreciate him every Sunday when he's here. I appreciate so many people. But put myself in the mirror when I use the restroom and I look at myself, what's the first thing that I do? Oh, shoot. Oh. Anybody else do that? Right. Instead of appreciating like, oh, that looks good today, Kathy. Once in a while I do that. But then, right back to finding fault. Robbing myself of bliss. So that's number 2. Tell the people in your life what you appreciate about them often, and tell yourself what you appreciate about yourself often. Number 3, volunteer. I just mentioned that earlier. Hold the door for a stranger. Simply smile. Smile more. Kindness and giving are connected to gratitude, are they not? Absolutely. Number 4, these are all ways to cultivate attitude of gratitude. Meditation. Oh, that song of breathing. And you doing the breath in the microphone. It just took me away. The brain changes actually occur. Your brain changes when you actually meditate more and more. So you're doing your brain waves a favor. Number 5 is gratitude journal. Now, many of you have heard for years, Oprah always talks about a gratitude journal, doesn't she? Keep a gratitude journal by your bedside. Well, we have developed a gratitude journal here for you today. If you would like one, we would love for you to pick one up after the service. We are also having a gratitude concert here on Tuesday night, 2 days before Thanksgiving, so that you can still have Wednesday night to do your preparations if you're into that. But this is a gratitude journal. Now, when you pick it up, you may say, oh my gosh, that's overwhelming. Well, what we did was we created the pages for you inside so that you don't have to make copies for yourself. So every day for 18 days, you can keep record of and own and appreciate yourself for what you've done for the day. And then on the back part, it's going to have these, what's it actually titled? I like what it's titled. Habits for cultivating gratitude. And there are 12 habits for cultivating gratitude. You pick your top 8, and you list the top 8 over here. And then every day, you rate yourself on how you did. And it's not about beating yourself up. It's about appreciating, like, wow, I did that once. Not 4 times, it's okay. Once. Good job, Kathy. So just know that these are available outside. One of the ushers will be holding them if you would like to pick one up, and we'll be giving them out on Tuesday night at the concert as well. But a gratitude journal is so important. Those are the 5 easy steps on how to cultivate gratitude in your life. Many of us already do a lot of them, but I'm here today to remind you, bump it up a little bit. Science is clear, gratitude yields joy. Anybody remember that movie with Meg Ryan and Nicolas Cage, City of Angels? I will tell you that the scene that hit me the most was the scene when all of those angels dressed in black suits and dresses would go to the beach and watch the sun come up. And then they'd all reappear when the sun would set. In gratitude. Gratitude for the day before them and gratitude of the day and the night. I never will forget that feeling. And I went to YouTube just so I could watch it, that section again. It warms my heart. You know, gratitude is not that hard. Did you ever think about, do animals feel gratitude? Let's see. Is that not just the cutest? And we think they're the lower species, don't we? Oh my gosh. What's the next one? See if you recognize who. Who is he hugging? Jane Goodall. Yep. Isn't that, oh my gosh. There are so many pictures of animals showing gratitude. A tiger who was rescued as a cub, and the guy took him in, fed him until he was big enough, and then released him in the wild, out to the wild 10 years later, and the tiger came running to the guy to just go up to him. I mean, you know, we in our infinite wisdom, Lord, we could never do that. But animals just do it. They just do it. I want to share with you a story. I want to share with you a story about the 3 laughing monks. Is there a picture of them? Aren't they cute? All right, well, here goes. Once upon a time, there lived 3 unnamed monks in China. And they were given the name of the 3 laughing monks because when asked what their names were, they would not answer, but they would just laugh. These 3 monks used to travel together and do nothing but laugh. They used to enter a village or a town, stand at the center of its main square, and start laughing. Look at them. Slowly but surely, people who lived and worked in the surrounding areas couldn't resist after watching them after a period of time, and then they would start laughing. And pretty soon everybody in the square would be laughing, and they don't even know what they're laughing about. Then the monks would move on to another town. These old monks believed that laughter was their only prayer and their teachings, as they would not utter a word to the folks, just laugh. All over China, they were loved and respected. And they believed that there have not been any such spiritual teachers till today. According to them, one should always take life to be the greatest opportunity to laugh. Well, these monks, they traveled and laughed for many years to spread joy of happiness all over China until one day, while being at a particular village, one of them died. The whole village gathered to witness this reaction of the other 2 monks. They were expecting to see them showing some sadness, maybe even crying. But no, the 2 monks were just laughing, only harder. They were laughing and they couldn't seem to stop. And seeing them like this, a few of the people in the crowd approached them and asked them, "Why are you having this unusual reaction? Your friend died, and why aren't you mourning his death? You were together for so many years." When one of the monks finally responded, he said that on our way to your village, the 3rd monk proposed a bet of who would be the first one of them to beat the other 2 and die. Now that he won, we can't stop laughing because he won. He said, but he did leave us specific directions to follow. Now, normally, in the tradition of the Buddhist monks, we are required to wash the dead and to change his clothes before putting him on the funeral pyre. And that must be followed in our tradition. But this old monk, he wrote specific instructions, and he said, "Leave the old clothes on me. I have never been filthy for one day." He said that he never allowed the dirt of this world to reach him through his laughter. So, according to his instructions, his 2 friends, monks, did exactly what he said, and they left his clothes on, and they went ahead and put him on the funeral pyre. The fire was lit, and it started touching his clothes, and suddenly, to everyone's surprise, fireworks came out of him. all over the sky, all over different colors. And everyone just started laughing and laughing, and they couldn't stop. So you see why his instructions were not to change his clothes. He had put fireworks under his clothes for when he won the race, there would be laughter and not tears. So always give a little laughter. Face your problems with a smile on. Create a ripple of laughter wherever you are. Proverbs 15:15 says, whoever has a merry heart has a continual feast. Whoever has a merry heart has a continual feast. Find something to be grateful for, and joy will follow all the time. And I am not ashamed to be happy and be grateful and be joyful. And I encourage you to not be afraid to be too joyful and be grateful. So I wish you all a happy and joyful Thanksgiving, whatever that's going to look like for you, whether you are home and having a feast by yourself, or whether you are going to family and you're not so sure you want to go, but you feel like you got to go. I wish you peace in that. Find something to be grateful for, right? Find something in your own home. If you find yourself alone, you're not alone. You are never alone. We talk about that almost every Sunday. You are never alone. Sandy and I, last week, Sandy was hitting that hard. You are never, ever alone. So find something to be grateful for. And if you are going to a family feast, and really there is some concern about, we're going to get into political or religious discussions, find something to be grateful for. Shift the conversation. That's what I do with my sister, and she's coming in town Tuesday, and I'm prepared. I'm praying up, because I'm just going to shift that conversation. And have you seen how pretty the trees are out there? And it works every time. So shift everything to gratitude. Namaste. That Christ's presence in me truly sees and honors that Christ's presence in each and every one of you. Namaste.